Converted Man here. Today, I will be looking at and listening to a video by Tabor v. Apologetics called Is God Necessary for Morality? This is a very serious question, deserving of my full attention and rigor. I will analyze this video for logical fallacies, if any. I will point out those fallacies if and when they occur. And I will remark upon the structure of the argument and the presentation thereof. I will see what, if any, citations are given and follow up on those citations and verify that they support his statements. I will do my best to look at this with objectiveness, and he mentions mere Christianity in the description. And I don't have enough faith to be an atheist by Frank Turok. Oh God. Oh God, no. Why? Well, I'm still going to give it my best because you deserve it. And I deserve it. We all deserve the best that I can give. You're probably waiting for the punchline. He will supply them. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Cooking Atheists. I can hear them now screeching in the comments. That's what they sound like.
There, I did the sound. You happy?
Sorry, that was mean. No, we're not actually cooking atheists today. I mean, we are, but not necessarily on purpose. I mean, maybe we are doing it on purpose. I don't know. I'm not making a video directed at atheists right now like I've done in the past, but this argument does, in fact, kind of cook atheists. Maybe even more than the cosmological argument. Here's the deal. Everyone...
Cooking atheists. Well, you'd have to get them into a pot, I guess. And it'd be fairly large. Put it on some fire or heat. And, I guess you could put them in a stove or a microwave. But if your argument is valid and sound, then it works. And it's not about cooking anyone. It's about whether or not your argument is sound. Because that's the only thing that matters. So what you got?
One believes in the difference between right and wrong. We all know that there's good things in this world and there's bad things in this world. Honestly, it's just part of being human. But why in the world do we even believe that? Like, is there a reason that it's objectively wrong to steal from someone? Is there a reason that...
Okay, so we all intrinsically know this. Well, sort of. You learn this through observation when you're very young. And, they've done many tests with, young toddlers where they'll have puppets do things that are mean to other puppets. And the kids respond to this unfair treatment. And they don't like the puppet that was bad to the other puppet. They like the puppet that was good, So there's been plenty of studies on this to show that fairly early on, we learn behavior through mimicry of others. And so it's not there with us from a blank state. And that can be shown. There's very rare cases of somebody that wasn't raised by a person, like raised by animals, but those are kind of iffy on whether they're true or not. So we would, there might be a couple of cases that where somebody was neglected as they were growing up, and that person tends to have maladjusted behaviors because they have to learn how to be social. They have to learn how to talk in some cases. Terrible instance where, somebody kept kids in a basement or whatever for, however long until they were discovered. And Those kids were malnourished and maltreated, and it was very horrible. And they had to be taken to an institution. They didn't talk. They could barely walk. They hadn't, so whether or not those people will ever be able to join society proper is an open-ended question, because after a certain point, if you didn't learn those behaviors, it might be too late. It's hard to say, but it's not ingrained in us, is what I'm trying to get to. And there's nothing that I know of that suggests that it is ingrained into us from the very start. So where did it come from? Well, we learn it from observation of the people around us when we're young. And then more broadly than that, it comes from the fact that we are social creatures and that we have evolved to be a social species. And hopefully this guy isn't a creationist type, but I wouldn't be surprised. I think I might have dealt with him before. I don't know.
That it feels wrong to murder somebody? I mean, I hope the answer to that question is yes, but the answer might not be so clear to you. And so by the end of this video, I want you as the...
Yeah, there are people that have no feeling about murder or killing or harm to others, sociopathic types. There's videos of young people, as young as 6. I think there was this girl. I'd have to dig up the video to reference it, but I can if you want. And she was like a sociopath or a psychopath, or I'm not sure, the label might have changed by now. But at any rate, she had killed her brother, and didn't it was like, oh yeah, I did that. How do you feel about that? I don't have any feelings. She didn't care that she didn't have feelings at all. She did it just because it was something to do. It didn't bring her joy or sadness. It was just something interesting. And so that person is a counterfactual to the idea that we have this innate sense of right and wrong built into us, because clearly some people do not have that at all. And that's perfectly understandable via biological evolution, that some people are going to have brains that don't operate the way that other brains operate. Because of different, random mutations that occur, and various stresses while the child was being birthed in the woman, and all sorts of factors that can go into the development of the brain at an early age that might lead somebody to have maladaptive strategies or antisocial behaviors. Now, if you are able to hide that well enough, then you will make it into adulthood, and you can mimic emotions, and some people do. So again, this all just kind of says to me that this idea that we innately know right and wrong is not true. And that, yes, there are some people that are perfectly fine with murder. They're serial killers that have done that a lot and enjoy doing it, get some sexual gratification from it, or some high from it, or whatever, or just do it because they're compelled to do it. They're whatever, but they like doing it. So, and thankfully that's rare, but it does happen. So how do you possibly explain that under your system, whatever your system might be?
The viewer to understand that without something morally objective, you can't have the difference between right and wrong. It's
incorrect, because we determine the meaning of any and all words. Words are kind of funny. Natural language is an unresolvable problem in logic. Different words mean different things to different people, and sometimes the same word means something to somebody and doesn't mean the same thing to somebody else. And, there's debates on what the word means or should mean or could mean. And I have a survey that I'm still working the data through, trying to figure out what to do with all the data. And what atheists view the word atheist to be. And across the board, with only one exception, which doesn't count because they rejected all labels. So that's a null result. So they don't count. So everybody that had a comment to say on it all agree on what the word atheist means in this small survey that I did. Now, one could extrapolate and think maybe that would be true for every atheist. I wouldn't, because even a larger sample size, I'm not, at some point you'd say, well, the best you could say is that the majority believe this about this word. Okay, so if we can agree that a word means X, Y, and Z, then that's what the word means. And it's real in that we really think that that's what the word is. So in that sense, what is right or wrong is up to the individual and up to the individuals around that individual. If you're on your own, morality is pretty much not a thing. The only person that you can hurt when you're by yourself is yourself. There is no effect that you can have upon other humans. Now, there are actions you could take to other living creatures, but you ultimately are the only one that's going to know what you have done in that situation. If you're, like, say you're, on an island, like like the movie Castaway or something, and anything that he did on that island is nobody will ever know. So if he had found a living being and he decided to torture it until it died, only he would know about that. Nobody else would know about that. So if he thought that that was fine or funny or interesting or whatever, then that's what he thought about it. The morality there is in a vacuum. When you have two people, then you have actual interaction between the two, because it is the word morality and the word ethics are about the behavior that we have towards each other. And so you do things that I enjoy you doing, and I call those things right. And then you do things that I don't enjoy you doing, and I call those things wrong, and vice versa. And because of the way that we were brought up and the society that we were brought up in, we have a similar set of agreements when it comes to what things we consider right or wrong, broadly speaking. And the law establishes a number of things as illegal, but says nothing about whether it's wrong to commit crime. If you break the law, you face a consequence of some sort. Is that a moral thing? No, it makes no moral judgments. It's just you did X thing, and that was against the law, and therefore you now pay the price, whatever that is. So in that sense, you don't need anything other than the agreement of these concepts between humans to establish what a word is. The agreement that I have between myself and skeptic philosophy might be, hey, let's have a discussion on Friday at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. But I forget because I'm an idiot, which is very highly likely. And then he's mad at me, and then I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. I just forgot. I mean, I'm stupid, And then it's up to him to forgive me or not, whether he wants to keep associating with me or not, who knows, and as or it might be like he says, "Oh, look, I want to do this, but something just came up. I've got to take care of it." And I was like, "Okay, and we understand that, things happen, stuff happens. I was going to be on this show week or whatever last week, and I was out of it. There was no way I was going to make it. It's just, if I had gone on, I would not have contributed anything of value. I was out of it. And I emailed the guy and I told him I can't do it, and he understood. He said, it's important. And I'm like, okay, well, let me know if you want to try this again. And who knows if he will or won't, and this is kind of like, somebody lets you down, you have to decide if you want to give them a chance again or not, and it's this whole weird phenomenon that we have, that's social interaction. And in that is a moral, our own personal morals and ethics that, guide all that. And you don't really think about it when you're in it. When you're in the moment, you don't think about your morals or your ethics. My ethical system, by the way, is utilitarian with some caveats and duty to the truth tacked on for good measure. I view it as do the best good for the most amount, or and do the less harm to the least amount. And I also outlined my idea of ethics, or at least the grounding of it, in my book Logic and Morals, where I made an argument that from logic that shows that we need to try to mutually benefit each other. All of that is right because you and I agree upon it. And we need no one else but us to have that agreement to make that correct. So if you, for whatever reason, enjoy getting smacked upside your face, and I enjoy smacking you upside the face, then we can agree that I smack you upside the face. And that would be a moral that we would share. But on the other hand, if you do not enjoy being smacked upon the face, however, I enjoy smacking you on the face, you might try to stop me from smacking you in the face because to you it's wrong. And so you're going to say, hey, look, don't do that. And if you do that, then there's going to be a problem here. There's going to be a consequence to your action. The consequence is, well, I'm not going to be your friend. I'm not going to be, nice to you. I'm going to smack you in the face, whatever. And so that interaction that we have is all we need to establish right and wrong. We don't need another thing outside of the two of us, but we do have another thing outside the two of us. We have the law, which is established by lots of us agreeing to vote on whatever sometimes, although sometimes laws are just made and who knows how they got made, and goodness knows what all the laws are, So I don't know, there's thousands of laws, maybe I'm breaking some, I don't know, hopefully not. But you kind of know the basic laws, that stealing is against the law, and that running a red light's against the law, and that hitting people or kicking people or hurting people is against the law. But there's other things you don't know, and you might be quite surprised that it was against the law, like putting an ice cream in your back pocket and walking down the sidewalk. Yeah, that's an actual law somewhere. So the point is, we don't need anything beyond humans to agree with each other on what is or isn't right or wrong to make it mean something. So this point that you've made is incorrect.
It's not possible. And so that's what we're going to unpack today in some of the arguments that I'm going to lay out for you. Okay, let me present an oddly specific scenario to you. Pretend you're sitting at your favorite coffee shop, enjoying your favorite drink on the menu, whatever that may be. You're sitting there, maybe you're studying, reading a book, doesn't really matter. You're sitting there enjoying your drink. And some random dude walks up, grabs your drink, takes a swig, and walks away. I think everybody who is in this situation would respond with disgust. They would say, "Why did you do that? Like, what was the point?" But to get
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe you just shrug it out, go, whatever. I've got some, I've got a good virus protection system in my body. I can handle, that minor germ that might be left there. Whatever. What do I care? What's the point of your analogy? I don't know.
really philosophical on you for a second, why do you feel obligated to ask your coffee thief why they did that? Because after...
Well, I mean, they took a drink of the drink. That is unusual and weird behavior. So I would be wondering why they had done something so unusual. Whether I get upset or not, who knows? But when you witness a weird behavior, you tend to ask why the person is behaving that way. That's psychological. There's nothing magical to this. What the bleep are you talking about?
After all, if we are really just chemical sludge interacting and bumping into each other,
all right, he's one of those. I was hoping he wouldn't be, but, like I said, I wasn't going to be surprised if he was. So we are just souls bumping into each other deep down. We're just souls bumping into each other. Now, my disdain at that doesn't disprove that could be true. The essence of what we are is just souls. We're just souls bumping into each other. If that's all we are, then what's the point of any of it? And I can act very annoyed at the nature of reality, as if that's an argument. It's not an argument, but I certainly can make it seem like I'm doing something amazing by doing that. But I'm not. Your disdain for the true nature of reality is irrelevant to the true nature of reality. We are a bunch of chemicals. I don't know that sludge is the appropriate term, but yeah, we are evolved creatures. We are animals. That's what we are for sure. There's evidence for that. If you don't understand that stuff, read a book or two. I can't help you there. I can help you with logic, but, the science stuff, you're going to have to figure that out and learn it. Go to Answers in Atheism. He'll help you. So to reduce you to the bare essential and say, well, if that's all we are, then appeal to consequence is all he's going to do here. And so he says, well, if we are X, then Z. We are X, though. So then that means that Z must be true, although it won't be true because it's based on fallacious reasoning, in this case, an appeal to consequence. So we are just chemicals or whatever deep down, or we are just souls deep down. And what's your argument?
Then who cares? We have no purpose or meaning or value. And if
we have no purpose, meaning, or value. So if we are this thing, then this is true. Okay, well, we are that thing, but this is not true. Because purpose, meaning, and value are all things that we ascribe to ourselves and each other. And that, too, is completely our whim to do that. It is up to us to do that for ourselves and for others. So your appeal to consequence fails to do anything at all here. all it does is reveal that you don't like that we are chemical evolutionary results or something like that. I could say, hey, if we're just souls, then none of it really matters. And actually, I can make a pretty damn good argument about that. If this life is temporary, but there's a bonus life, and I get to live forever, then what's the point of this life? Why would I do any of this? What can I do here that I couldn't do there? And if there is way better than here, then why am I hanging around here for? Why don't I just get there already? And it might be a painful process. And, if you are feeling like that, contact, an 800 number, get help, please, because, you matter here and now. But at any rate, if this eternity awaits, there is literally nothing that I could do that matters here and now, because I will be able to do everything because I will have all the time that there is to have. So what would be the purpose of anything I do here? How would any of it matter? I could do everything and then some. I will read every book. I will study everything there is to study. I will listen to every music. I will watch every TV show, every movie. I will literally be able to do everything that there is to do, and then I will still have time to do more stuff, which by then I will have run out of stuff to do. Or maybe people will keep making stuff. But at some point, given infinite time, you'll run out of stuff to do. And then then what? I don't know. But what's the point of that? What's the point of existing forever? I don't know. Maybe there isn't a point. Who cares if there is or isn't a point? If you think that a book that has not been read has no point, I think that there's a problem with you. Some books don't get read except by the person that wrote them and maybe the publisher or whatever, right? But they don't get read by the public. Like, they sit there and gather dust. But they all end. All books end. Well, I guess there was no point in that book because it had an ending. I guess there was no point in that movie because it ended. If that movie had just kept going forever and ever, then it would have an ending. Well, it wouldn't have an ending, but then it would have a point. If that movie just kept going forever, then there's a point to it. But if it's limited, then there's no point to it. Why? There's still a point to the movie, even though it ends. A story ends. Our stories end. But that doesn't make them pointless. But it is us that have that point ascribed by us and for us. And we don't need an extra bonus life to give us more meaning. In fact, I think it would give life less meaning. Now, if you want to talk about an afterlife that is set up like the show, the Good Place, which if you haven't watched that show is fun and you should, but The Good Place, that's what it's called. And they set up an afterlife scenario that is quite interesting. One where, yes, you can exist forever, but eventually, if you feel like it, you can stop existing. So if you get bored or you're just done, you can stop existing. Cool. Sign me up for that afterlife. But the problem is you literally do everything that there is to do in that afterlife. And then the question is, what was the point of the not afterlife bit? Why couldn't you do everything in that afterlife? And they don't answer that question. They do have a bizarre scoring system that doesn't make any sense. And who's in charge of that's kind of vague, and how that works is kind of vague. And there's a judge, but what her powers are, not everything is fully fleshed out. There's some things you could poke at here. But the point isn't that. The point is like that you find your meaning in that eventually the story ends. You can find meaning also in doing things. And the one character decides to do things for a long time. Maybe she does it forever. I don't know. Or maybe she gets bored later on in a few billion years. And maybe she decides to terminate her existence way later on. Who can say? But why would the universe be set up for the people that are soul essences to have a mortal life instead of just being there? Because they can do anything there, so why not just have everything there? There doesn't need to be this separation of the two realms. So it doesn't make sense. But it's a story, and you can accept it as a story even though it doesn't make sense. But you still know it's just a story, and you know it's a story because it doesn't make sense. So I'm asking you that posit this eternal realm of why it would be that we have the mortal coil and then the immortal coil, and what sense that makes. Because I don't see that. I don't understand that. I don't comprehend that. Now, that might very well be how it is, and screw it if we can understand it or not. But if you can't explain it, I think that's a problem. Anyways, kind of off track, but it's Mighty Filbert's fault that I'm off track. Yeah, that's it. Just blame him.
Survival of the fittest reigns supreme, then maybe this other evolved chemical bag just needed a little caffeine on his way to work and didn't want to pay for it, and your coffee happened to be closest. I hope you see a very real problem here.
No, because that first, we don't think in that terms. This is stupid. But yes, that other person might have needed my caffeine more than I did. Maybe he's got something going on. I don't know. I don't know his story. And in your analogy, I'll never know this pretend person's story because they don't exist and this event didn't happen. So this analogy isn't useful at all. It falls apart as a storytelling method to try to make sense of it. Like, why do we consider things wrong? Because we do, based on that's how we were raised. And that's how society has shaped and molded us. And that's how we have self-actualized. There's things that I think are fine that you might not think are fine. I have no problem with homosexuals getting married. I'm all for it. Get married. Do whatever. Don't get married. I don't care. Do whatever you want. Doesn't affect me. Have kids. Don't have kids. I don't care. Doesn't affect me at all. Do your thing. And I don't see that as immoral. I do see stoning to death people as pretty damn immoral, though. I think that that's pretty rough. Capital punishment doesn't sit well with me. I can understand that there might be somebody that we might feel really good about taking out because they did some nasty stuff. But I don't know that I want to feel good about killing somebody. But regardless, if we are going to kill them, I think we should do it in the most humane way possible. Because I don't think it's good to torture somebody and then kill them. I don't see the point in that. So stoning to death is a very slow and painful way to die. And it requires many people throwing stones at a person. Usually they bury the person, at least somewhat. Not always, though. And it's such a brutal, brutal way to kill someone and for someone to die. Yet, the Judeo-Christian Bible has no problem in recommending stoning to death for many various different crimes as outlined in the 613 commandments that I covered in a playlist. So, if your God provided that list to people, then your God is immoral in my version of the book. But you might think, well, that's perfectly fine. God had some reason for stoning people to death, and it's God. Maybe God doesn't have morals like the rest of us. God can do whatever God wants. But what's really twisted is, and many theists will say this, is everything God does is good. So it's good that God ordered people to be stoned to death. Who? What? Why? And slavery and, all the other bad stuff. And then wearing mixed fabrics. Why is that? Don't eat pork? Why not? Come on, God. Really? No, don't do it in the pooper. Don't have sex in the butt. Oh, no. Definitely don't do that. I don't know. It just seems like that this God character that you think provides you with objective morals is more like humans that came up with a bunch of stuff they didn't like and then said it was God. I don't know.
This is what a lack of objective morality leads us to as a culture. Let me present to you with another scenario. You sit down at a restaurant, you order, get your food, eat your food.
Oh, more bad analogies? Okay, whatever.
But then after you've eaten your food, you check your pockets and you realize that you don't have your wallet. So at this point, you have a couple options. You can dine and dash, or you can go home, get your wallet, and come back and pay for the food.
Well, if movies have taught me anything, you have to do dishes to pay for it, right? And then you get a job. So I remember the Andy Griffith show, I think it was, or something like that. Maybe it wasn't Andy Griffith, but it was something old. And the kid stole from the store, and then he's like, I'm sorry, I stole. And he's like, you're going to have to work at this store. Okay. Oh, you've worked it off. Now you stay here working at the store. So he got rewarded for stealing. He didn't get punished for stealing. He got a job for stealing. And then they became friends. And I was like, that's that doesn't make sense. No, that should be and some shows would be like the person starts out as a real jerk, but then they become nice over time. And then everyone gives them a lot of attention. I'm like, well, what about the nice person that was nice at the very start all throughout and they barely got any attention? So you're telling me to start mean and evil and then get nice so I get more attention? So anyway, stories can be really bad is what I'm saying. And your story is really bad. Anyways.
Food. Assuming there's no Apple Pay, okay. Oh, there's Apple Pay. You can pay. I know. Okay.
You happy I did the thing? I don't know. He's making up stuff that we're saying, so I'm going to help him by saying what he wants me to say, I guess. But yeah, no, actually, I don't think that you'd be allowed to go home. Probably the police will get involved. I don't know. There'd be some way to do it. I don't know, but yeah.
Okay, just go along with just follow the line of reasoning. Just follow Just follow the illustration. Any ethical, considerate person would know in their heart that it's right to go get their wallet and come back and pay for the food.
Okay, so I love the framing here. Any person that I like, any ethical person, would do the following thing. If you don't do that, then you're not this person. So this is essentially a version of the no true Scotsman fallacy, which is an appeal to purity. So in the no true Scotsman, you say, true Scotsmen wear kilts, and you're not wearing a kilt, so you're not a true Scot. And it's an appeal to purity. You're not doing this thing that everyone does. So you're not an ethical person because you ran out on the money, the pay of the check. You didn't pay that. So you aren't ethical. So you are only ethical if you do the things that I think are ethical. Otherwise, you're not ethical. I'm like, I think everyone has ethics, although not people don't think through those ethics, sometimes. And some people like you, I don't even think you know what your ethical system is. But I'll tell you, it's DCT, which is Divine Command Theory. I've made a video about that. I think I called it DCT. There's many problems with Divine Command Theory as an ethical system, but that seems to be your ethical system. The morals that you extract from that ethical system aim at the goal of getting to what that ethics lay out. So God says, hey, go ahead and take slaves if you want. Then you do that. That's perfectly fine until later on, society says, nah, let's not do that. And then you're like, well, we need an excuse for why we don't take slaves anymore. Oh, I know. Jesus did say, just love everybody and treat them like yourself. So, then we don't have to do those 613 laws, even though Jesus said that none of the laws have passed away. Whatever. It's fine. We've got a loophole. Jesus said also that all the stuff is replaced by the new golden rule, okay? Even though he also said that none of the stuff is replaced. You could go either way with it. It's great. But at any rate, you've got a wonderfully confusing ethical system. But nonetheless, you have an ethical system. And your morals align to that ethical system. Ideally. Sometimes they don't, though, because we do things. Sometimes we don't know why. There are times when you do stuff and you have no idea why the hell you did it. And that happens sometimes. Anyways, so the hell happened?
But the question is why? Let's take it a step even further. Let's say you're an hour from your house where your wallet is located.
Okay.
Now what do you do?
Are you just going to keep doing this? Come on, man.
Again, the principle of right and wrong still remains whether or not we like it. Even if some of us would just dine and dash, we would still know on our way leaving the restaurant that was wrong. Now,
well, you're making a huge assumption. We would still know it's wrong. Well, no. Depending on your ethical system, you might think that's perfectly acceptable to do so. So it really depends. What if, let me give you a scenario. You're at your Applebee's and you're about to take your wallet out to pay for things, but then you hear God, or an angel, whatever, doesn't matter. Oh, hey, don't pay for that. What? Don't pay for it. Yeah, they did. Everyone here is atheists. Run! Get in your car! Drive away! Okay, God! Oh! Yeah. God. All right, God. I did what you want. Good. Now, watch what I do to the restaurant now. Turn on the news. Okay, God. I blew up the restaurant. Good job, God. You killed all those people. Yay! Right? because God told you to do the thing, so that makes it right. And then God killing those people, that must be really good because God can't do bad, right? Anyway, so yeah, some people wouldn't care and they wouldn't think the way that you're saying that they would think. So that's a counterfactual to what you're saying, which means you're wrong. Oh, well.
If you've gotten to this point and you're trying to figure out what in the world I'm even talking about, you're trying to figure out how I'm going to land the plane here, let me know down in the comments what you think. I'd love to hear. At this point, you're kind of picking up what I'm putting down, or if you're just confused. I'd love to hear.
Oh, no, I'm not confused, but your analogies suck. So, I don't know.
From you. Let's dialogue in the comments. And if you're getting anything out of this video, leave me a like so I know that I'm doing something right here.
Well, I disliked your video, and I would encourage everybody in the chat to dislike his video. Let's get him some dislikes. Yeah! And also, I challenge you to post a comment on his channel saying that Deconverted Man wasted 46 minutes of his time on this. How? How did I do that? This video is only 8 minutes long. I've been doing this for 40. How? I'm only 3 minutes in? Why? Why does it take so long to tell somebody that they're wrong about stuff? Oh. Anyways, what am I doing? All right. Morals and whatever.
Now, this strange way that we all recognize this unspoken higher standard proves that something outside of the cosmos has placed some kind of ethical standard alongside us within the cosmos.
Well, that didn't follow, or as we like to say, non sequitur, which means does not follow. So no, we humans do not all have this value that you're talking about. I've already brought up several examples to show that that's true. So that's wrong. Therefore, your first idea doesn't and cannot lead to your next idea that this ingrained moral value that we don't all share is there, and that somehow means that it can't be just because we evolved to have it. No. It has to be something beyond space-time. Whee! What? Nothing connected. You need to connect those things together. You need to have this thing called a syllogism at least. You don't even have an argument here. You just are saying stuff, man. This is bad. But keep going. I'm enjoying it. So keep going. Yes.
It's kind of like the cosmological argument we talked about a few weeks ago.
Oh, God.
Because time, space, and matter all had a starting point, there had to be.
We don't know that time, space, and matter had a starting point in that way. Like, that's not a thing. The cosmological arguments were broken for many reasons. I've covered versions of it, but the most popular is the Kalam cosmological argument. I've got a video called KCA. I cover all of it in that video. So you can go check that out, whatever.
To be something to cause that starting point. In the same way, there has to be some kind of moral standard that exists out there that causes.
No. There doesn't have to be anything other than what is. What is evidently true is that humans have behaviors that allow them to interact with other humans. And different cultures have different behaviors that other cultures don't. The Aztecs. Now, I gotta look up if the Aztecs did this. Hold on. Let me just make sure. Okay, good. I was right. I knew I was right, but I wanted to make sure. The Aztecs chopped off human heads. They thought that was perfectly fine. But their society eventually disappeared. I mean, I don't know what happened. they die out, disease, who knows? But it didn't work. Okay. But they thought it was perfectly fine to do that. They thought that God wanted them to chop off the heads of other humans. I don't know. I would, probably be like, okay, I mean, let's pretend you're born into that. You're like, okay, that's just what we do. As long as it's not me, I'm fine with it, But then what's really weird is like, you might like be taught that it's the best thing that could ever happen is if you're chosen to have your head chopped off. So that's kind of a weird thing. But just imagine, like, yeah, I'm going to get my head chopped off. Woohoo! Here I go to the top of the stairs. Yay! I can't wait. And then as your head's rolling down the stairs, and like, I guess you might still be aware. I'm not really sure. But you're like watching and you go, I'm so happy. And you did that because you thought God wanted that to happen based on the idea that God has objective moral standards, and this is the most moral thing that you can do. Is there any proof of that? No. But they said that that's what God wanted, so why not? I mean, how do you know that it's not right to get your head cut off? I mean, if it's also subjective, I mean, then you can't tell what's the difference between right. I don't know. I just don't think that cutting off somebody's head serves any actual purpose. It doesn't really benefit society in any fundamental way that I can really verify. I don't know. That's just me, though. I just kind of like logic and reason and stuff. But, you do you.
Causes all of us to recognize this unspoken standard. But here's what the skeptics are going to say. The skeptics are going to say that there is no moral standard, that there.
No, I'm not. I refuse to say this. Now, remember, I had the running joke of saying things that he said, but this one, no. There is a moral standard. But the moral standard is in relation to the ethics that you hold. So you just don't know what the hell you're talking about.
There is no right and wrong. And I think
there is, in fact, a right and wrong. And we humans define what that is. We made that be a thing. We have collectively decided what to call right and what to call wrong. So there is indeed that thing. So the thing you said I would say, I am saying the opposite, which makes you wrong. Again, I don't know how many times this guy's been wrong. A lot. Where's that guy that called me a demon in chat? Is he still there? I want to invite that guy on stream and be a demon on him. Come here. I'm a demon. Come here. Who are you? Is that Simon or P, whatever? Is that guy? Who said it? Was it that guy? Somebody said I was a demon. Who was it? I saw it. Damn it. Where did it go? Oh, well, whatever. I don't care anymore. It was Simon? Okay. Just say sorry and I won't get Jesus to come get you. You're too scared. Come on. I'm a good demon. Really. Hello, Simon. Only you can hear this. It's the devil. Worship me. 666. Ah! Satan, Satan, Satan. Ah! Anyways, back to the video.
C.S. Lewis puts it best when he says this.
Fuck C.S. Lewis.
When you find a man who says he does not believe in a real right and wrong, you will find the same man going back on this a moment later. He may break his promise to you, but if you try breaking one to him, he will be complaining it's not fair before you can say Jack Robinson. I don't know who Jack Robinson is. I know who Jackie Robinson is, but I don't know who Jack Robinson is. If you're wondering where I got that quote, it's from this phenomenal piece of work right here.
This phenomenal piece of junk. Mere Christianity. Fuck that book. It's garbage. Don't read it. Read a different book. Read a logic book. Read a book on logic. I'll tell you what book to read. Hold on. I'll be right back. I'll get the book. Stay right there. Don't go anywhere. I'm gonna get the book you should read. All right. You still there? Good. You should read this book right here. Now, as you can see, this book is, black and white and weird all over. But that's not the book. That's a book on Weird Al. That's the book on logic. There you go. Read a book like this. Read this book. Read a book, people. Excuse me for a second. Look at this. Pretty cool, huh? And that's and then you've done the thing, and that's really, yeah. What? What do you want? What? Anyways, yeah, but fuck C.S. Lewis. Who cares? He wasn't right. Moving on.
Called Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. This book unpacks the moral argument in a way that I have just never even considered. It's incredible. It's deep. The reading in here is just so rich and dynamic, and C.S. Lewis is obviously timeless in the way that he describes these things. So if you want to check it out.
I like Blake better.
Be sure to use my link in the description for this book. It is an Amazon link. It'll take you there. I think it's like $11 or something, or $11.60 something, and it's well worth the read. And if you want a more methodical approach to the moral argument, check out this book that I have plugged multiple times in the past. This one is I Don't Have Enough Faith.
So I'm certain that I've covered this guy now, because I had just complained about fucking Frank Turek in some video that I had done. So did I? Yes, I did. 11 days ago. Damn it, deconverted man. You don't remember what you did 11 days ago. Yeah, I was like exasperated when he brought up Frank Turek, and I just rage quit on him because fuck Frank Turek, this charlatan, know nothing person. He's just a big giant ball of nothing. This is where this guy is getting his stuff from. So that's why his arguments suck so badly. In fact, he doesn't even have an argument. He has crappy analogies. It's like he's just talking at people. He's not talking to people. So in case he watches this 58-minute video, I'll invite him to my channel. You think he's going to show up? Probably not, but I'll do it anyways. My email is deconvertedman1@gmail.com. That's the number 1, not the word 1. Anyways, I'm done. I don't care. No, I'm done. No, he mentioned Turek. I'm done. It's 5 minutes in. I'm not going to keep going more because I'm done. No to Frank Turek. We're done. Lobsters, right. Lobsters exist for sure. So what you should be reading is The Lobsterist, because that is the real truth with the capital T. And if you don't want to read it, you can hear Dave read it to you on the Captive Desk channel. And all that's on my About tab, although they don't call it an About tab anymore. It's just a thing. It doesn't even have a name, I guess. Check it out, right? There's my channel, right? And this more used to be About. And you click it, and then you see all these links to stuff, And so, that's all the stuff that you can click on, But now, let me complain about this for a second here, because this is really stupid. Look, home, shorts, and then subscriptions. But subscriptions was up here as a button to click, and now it's I don't want to click shorts. I hate shorts, and they're off. I don't want them. And then if I hit home, my watch history is off, but home should show me subscriptions. That's what home should be. And it's not. And it's annoying. And I hate it. And they changed it, but they won't fix the comment section. And I'm a demon, apparently. I don't know what the hell is going on. Anyways, thanks for listening to me. I don't know if this was entertaining or not. Hopefully it was. And my head hurts now. And I blame Tilting Windmill. Why not? Sure. And let's see. Who do I want to flirt with today? Let's see. Who have I not flirted with in a while? Simon. Why not we just flirt with Simon? That will make him really uncomfortable. Here we go. Simon. Your name is so good. Oh, I can't wait for you to be with me and hold me tight and tenderly as we rub our bodies together. Simon, this is the demon again. Only you can hear this. Anyways, and then we would finish each other off with candy canes. So if that sounds good to you, Simon, drop me an email and we will do that. Anyways, I'm still single, not sure why, and I'm 47, so I'm going to complain about that. And now I'm going to drink soda, which is bad for me. I guess that's the end of the video. Goodbye, everybody! Until next time, be skeptical. And after that, stay skeptical. He's G, says demons. I am confused, Robin Hood says. Hi, confused. I'm deconverted man. Porcupine.